recording, but we're actually live on Facebook. Okay, sorry. Now you go.
All right, let me do the intro. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Freelancer podcast. Today is my last day in Thailand. Been here about 40 days, and I have a special guest with me. I've got Riley Bennett, former collaborator. Obviously
Yeah.
spent a lot of time in Thailand, so we've been meaning to catch up. We just, for some reason, we passed by each other a few times on this recent Thailand trip. But
Yeah.
Riley's been staying in Thailand for a lot longer than me, so I thought it'd be good to have his perspective on this topic. Welcome, and good to speak to you again.
Yeah, good to see you, man.
Yeah. I just thought in this episode I'd recap the experience of being in Thailand, especially post COVID, because I've obviously spent a lot of time in Thailand well before COVID started, and this has been my first experience since the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
So first off, as I mentioned, I've just been here the last 40 days. You just told me that you've been in Thailand the last 8 months. What's life been like in Thailand from your perspective?
It's been great, to be honest. I mean, basically the two main things that are different is nightlife closes at 11 or 12. Early on, it was 11. Well, during the thick of the pandemic, it was no nightlife. But I was mostly in Europe and Bali for that. But these past 8 months, I would say past year, nightlife has been open until 10. And then in the past 4 or 5 months, many places are open until 12. So that's the main thing with COVID, right? Is those hotspots, the nightlife, they close it off. So that's the one main thing. And then second main thing is masks. So in Bangkok, everyone in public is wearing a mask. However, down south here in the islands, almost no one wears a mask except in 7-Eleven.
It's so crazy, isn't it? I go to Ko Pha Ngan and number one, people are wearing face masks and not helmets while driving along the street on an open road. It just does not make any sense. And then I was like, okay, because I can go into restaurants and not wear them and drive down the road not wearing it, surely the 7-Elevens will be chill. Not go into a 7-Eleven in Ko Pha Ngan and they're like, mask, they're chasing you. I actually had this experience where it started pissing down rain as I was trying to drive somewhere. I had this 10-minute drive and it was raining like crazy. And I was like, shit, I'll jump into the big sea, quickly buy a raincoat. And as I get in there, I'm like, oh shit, I don't have a mask. So I'm there drenched, completely dripping wet. And I'm like, I grab the raincoat and she's like, where is your mask? And I'm like, I don't have a mask. Can I just buy this raincoat and get the fuck out, please? And she's like, no. And then she said to me, no mask, no purchase. And I just was like, I'm ignoring that. Look, I'm drenched. And then luckily the checkout cashier lady actually served me and I got out of there. But it was definitely annoying, the mask thing in Bangkok. And then the fact that you have to wear them at 7-Eleven, it's just not a thing that I'm thinking about,
Yeah, it's the only time I just keep it in my motorbike or whatever. And these big corporations have their strict rules, but other than that, in restaurants, I do not wear a mask day to day down here on the islands. Yeah,
nice.
And so those are kind of just the two main things. And then kind of the positives that came out of that is where do people go, after 11 and 12, people who are going out, you look for after parties. And so we happen to move into this big fucking penthouse in Bangkok and splitting it between a few guys. And that just became one of the popular after party destinations over the 6 months. And so we know some DJ friends, and so we're everyone's because we've been based in Bangkok past 4 years, and so everyone's what after party, can we come to your penthouse? Okay, oh, you DJ, okay, there's no clubs after there, nothing to do, okay, come play at our place. So some DJ friends start to come, and then people see it on Instagram, and so we had this big actually housewarming party or our penthouse. And like ended up being like 100 people showing up and like almost got kicked out like right then and there.
Yeah.
But anyway, so it's basically been an after party vibe, for the past 6, 8 year plus. And same thing with
Yeah.
down in Phuket. Things have closed at 12 pretty much, up until the past like 3-4 months. Now clubs in Phuket are open till like 2, and there's this one huge place in Phuket called fucking what's it called, Bay Hill, that's now open all night for like the past 3-4 months. So
Okay.
totally open. But anyway, so in our penthouse spot in Bangkok, we used to have just DJs to come, DJ at the after party. Then we're like, fuck it, we got to get our own DJ jack so they don't have to like haul it up every time. People can just come and DJ. And so now I have the DJ thing at my house, and then by popular demand, when there's no DJ, I just start getting on there. So now I'm learning to DJ. And so for the past like 4 months, I've DJed like a dozen or more house parties.
Yeah.
And so thanks to COVID, now I'm like a house party DJ. So that's one positive thing that's come out of it. So that's been fun. I know you're into music too.
Yeah. When I saw,
I saw all your live stream DJs. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember DMing you because you were playing like the house music that you like to play and listen to is the
Right.
kind that I like to listen to as
Oh,
well.
tech house, love it.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah.
But I've struggled to kind of like find like where that music exists in Thailand. I've got a few recommendations for clubs in Bangkok or whatever. Sing Sings, I think, was one of them.
Yeah.
But I can be quite particular when it comes to like my music taste.
Yeah.
But yeah, moving past the nightlife for a second, I wanted to talk like about entry requirements for new people. What I did a month ago, they had the test and go scheme, so I had to basically, there's this thing called the Thailand Pass for the people listening, and it's basically, I actually got rejected from the Thailand Pass twice. And what I realized about the Thailand Pass is it's just making sure that you have all your documentation. So like, I was like worried that I was going to get rejected. So what I did was I basically didn't book anything and tried to fill out the Thailand Pass and then book. So therefore, like I wasn't, spending money and then getting rejected. But I realized like I had to do all that stuff. The whole Thailand Pass was just to ensure that you had everything booked. So I had to get COVID insurance. That was the main thing. Be vaccinated. It's not necessarily you have to be vaccinated, but it just makes it easier. And so for vaccinated people, all I had to do was test and go, which was one night at a hotel where they like tested me, and the next morning came back negative and I was free to go. But I did some research, and like the process now, I like saved a little bit of a link here. The test and go has been removed, and it's just looks like it's just the COVID insurance and being vaccinated. So still need to fill out the Thailand Pass and have COVID insurance, but that's it. So yeah, I'm assuming like this has really opened the floodgates for tourism in Thailand, because I mean the travel, the COVID insurance, I think I paid like 1,500 baht or something. Like it wasn't much.
Yeah, $30 for a month. Yeah,
it's not much at all. What was it like when you came into Thailand? Was that
I did same thing, Thailand Pass, and there's 1 day quarantine, which basically means they swab you in the airport on arrival, and then you have to go to the hotel, and then once the hotel gets the call, all right, he's negative, then you're pretty much free. And then you were supposed to do another COVID test on day 5 and another on day 10, something like that. This was back in September, and then it went to only on day 5, and now it's no second test. It's just test on arrival. And then on June 1st, there is going to be, or no, I think it's already no test requirement at all.
Yeah.
And then on June 1st, there's going to be no more Thailand Pass. It's instant approval. Like it's still an online check in
Okay.
before you come, basically, kind of like how Vietnam comes. It gives you an instant approval. You print out the QR code and then you just come. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, and also you don't need to have a vaccine anymore. It's pretty much totally back open now. It's just you got to,
So good.
check in on the Thailand Pass thing before you come.
Yeah. And it's funny because Thailand is such like law has a different meaning in Thailand compared to like back home, and it's interesting. Like the whole process was like surprising to me because in Australia we had this hotel quarantine system that was like military grade stuff. Like you got off at the airport and the military escorted you on a bus to your hotel where
Whoa.
you were staying, and outside the front of these quarantine hotels was like military guards and stuff. Like it was nuts. And then so like I get into Chiang Mai airport to do this test and go, and I don't know what I'm expecting, but I get there and it's just like a normal airport pickup. The guy is like there with like a sign with my name on it. And I was like, I could have just walked past this guy. He doesn't know who I look like, but I'm sure like
Hmm.
the hotel would like need to check my name off a list or whatever, and then the authorities would probably be out for me. But who knows? It's
Yeah.
Thailand. But yeah, and then I get to it takes me to the hotel, and there's like no security, and I'm like, where do I get tested? They're like, oh, there's just a van on the street. Just go to the van on the street by yourself, get it tested. And
Yeah.
then they were so casual. I was just like, and there was no security. I was just like, oh, so once I go to my room, can I leave? And they're like, no, of course not. And I just, because there was such a casual vibe, I was like, maybe I can leave. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And then,
That's
the
probably
next
good.
day, I woke up to a negative result, but they didn't say you could leave. I was just like, oh, I guess I can leave now, just via email. And then the fifth day, I did the test, but there was nowhere to upload the test result. So it was just I found the whole
Yeah.
thing kind of hilarious, like
Oh,
it's almost
this
like,
whole thing is so funny.
yeah,
Like the fact that like people still wearing masks, and it's just this whole COVID thing is just so funny.
the mask thing's the weirdest one. I think it's like a Thai cultural thing that people want to wear masks.
Yeah. It's like it's this security theater thing. It's like
Yeah,
these corporations and governments and cities, they need to save face, so they need to act like they're doing some precautions, even though
yeah,
it may not make any difference or any sense at all. But it's security theaters to save face on their part, and it's just how it works.
yeah, yeah. I'd probably
Hmm.
agree. I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so I'll run through. I'm gonna run through the three destinations I went to and kind of talk about what's changed for me. Um, Chiang Mai. I was surprised. It's pretty much exactly the same. Like I went back to in my like most watched video, I talk about this uh, street stall on Siri Mankalajan Road. I
Oh
call her
yeah.
the fried chicken lady, and I went back. She's still there. Her son's still there. They're still serving the exact same food. And I made that
Yep.
video in early 2017, and that just made me chuckle. Like it's just
Yeah.
they haven't changed their menu. Like it's just
Nope.
so many things. The things that have stayed the same. I think the Burmese restaurant changed its name, but still has the same menu. Like it just very minor changes. And what has changed, I guess, is more the co-working cafe scene. It's kind of like cafes and co-working spaces in Thailand seem to like open and close like nightclubs. Like
Yeah.
the a bunch of cafes I noticed shut down, but there was like an equal amount of new ones that opened up.
Hmm.
And the thing in terms of co-working that I noticed is Pun Space Niman apparently is no more. I didn't go check, but apparently they
Oh.
don't. That's not around anymore.
Hmm.
And now in Niman, Yellow seems to be the
Yeah.
spot.
Yellow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool
Did
spot.
you have you have anything to add about Chiang Mai specifically, or?
I haven't been to Chiang Mai
Oh,
since,
okay.
but no, haven't.
Yeah. Okay. Ah. Move
But
move. I get your. I get it because like I went to Chiang Mai and it's feels too small for me now. Like it's just I need a bit more excitement than Chiang Mai.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice for
Yeah.
a period, but a lot of people feel the same way. It's nice for a while, and then yeah, kind of small and kind of gets boring. But
Yeah.
yeah, I've heard the same thing. Kind of same. Not strict on masks or anything. It's mainly the big city, Bangkok, that's the most strict
Yeah.
with the masks.
The only time I got asked to wear a mask in Chiang Mai was entering malls.
Yeah, malls.
I went into cafes and restaurants that had literal signs on the front door, "Can't enter without a mask," and actually and went in without a mask.
Mhm.
Now that I think about it, the 7-Elevens in Chiang Mai didn't ask me to wear a mask either. So
Yeah.
interesting, Ko Pha Ngan so strict on it, but Chiang Mai, literally the only place was Maya Mall.
Mhm,
That
mhm.
was it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and then like it really hit me in Bangkok because so I was staying at this hotel that was in next to a mall, Emporium Suites. You may have heard of it. It was like
That's where
connected
I
to
lived.
the yeah.
Yeah, that's where our
Oh,
penthouse was
oh shit. Yeah,
on the
nice.
top floor. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
very
I
nice.
liked it.
Best
I liked
location.
it. Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean it's connected to the what is it? There's M
Yeah, the M
Cartier and then
Quartier and the
and
Emporium. Yeah.
Emporium. That's right, and then connected to the BTS. But the bad part about that is all three of those locations are indoor locations, well, apart from the BTS, but all three of them have in common that there's somebody there that's going to ask you to wear a mask.
Yeah.
And so
Oh
that
man,
was,
especially Emporium Suites. You go up in the elevator and there's this face scanner, and if
yeah,
it detects you have no, please wear a mask.
I know. I thought that was
The
crazy. That's like some
yeah.
fucking Minority Report
And
shit.
so that's one of the reasons that they hated us and want to kick us out because they're very strict on the mask shit. And
Yeah.
so we would always come in and like have friends coming up with no mask, and we got like one strike, two strike, three strike. And I'd have a meeting with the management. They're like, it makes sense if you're a big conglomerate corporation. They have like safety promise, and so they got to look out for their guests who are tripping about it. But that's just how it
Yeah.
goes.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, that was like basically the list of changes on my list. What I
Cool.
did yesterday was I put it to the audience on Instagram and YouTube community, and yeah, literally kind of. I had a little brief look on Instagram, but I'm gonna like bring up some questions now. Um, Michael Winkler asks on YouTube community, what is your guess? When will Thailand reopen fully to tourism? So I'm not sure what he
Fucking
means by
three,
fully.
4 months ago, bro.
I guess maybe like when he says fully,
What are you
like
waiting for,
no
dude? My
quarantine for
mom was here in
unvaccinated people.
February. Yeah, the no quarantine for unvaccinated happened, I think, 2 months ago, 1 month ago,
Oh, really?
like maybe May 1st.
Oh,
Yeah,
so if you're unvaccinated, let me check my link here.
if you're unvaccinated, I think you just have to have a test on arrival,
Pre-departure
and maybe a
test, it
one
says
day
here.
quarantine, which doesn't really mean 1 day quarantine. It means just like the swab on arrival. They
Yeah,
send the results to your hotel, and then you're
test and
good.
go sort of
Basically,
thing.
don't have COVID. That's what they care about.
Yeah.
Don't have COVID when you come here. That's it.
So that's like maybe that's like what he's asking here. But yeah, I mean, it depends on what the definition of fully open. But I would say, you know, to talk from my own experience, it was a bit scary to kind of travel again post COVID. I you've been to a few different places during the whole pandemic, but I literally spent the whole thing in Australia. Part of that was choice, part of that was a literal international travel ban. So
Mm.
like
Oh yeah,
I
being in Australia, yeah.
yeah, it we had an international travel ban on everyone, including well, not everyone. Like if you were a foreign citizen, you could go back to your own country, but me as an Australian citizen, I had to apply to leave, and I was under the impression that I could if I if I really pressed it. Like I said, hey, look, I'm gonna move abroad in my application. But I actually met this dude in Chiang Mai, Aussie guy, and he said that he applied 8 times and got rejected 8 times. I think after the fourth time, I would have like hired an immigration agency to
Yeah.
help me craft my application because maybe he was making the same mistake 8 times. But yeah, the point is, I a lot of the just the vibe in general, my own feelings, and like the actual system made me reluctant to travel. And so I kind of was like, I actually watched this like horror video. No, it wasn't horror video, but like I watched this video about a horror story about it literally said, don't come to Thailand in 2022. And this guy basically, I think he did test and go, but he tested positive. And so they're like, he was asymptomatic, so he didn't have any symptoms, and they were putting him into hotel quarantine, and he was or like try take him to the hospital. He's like, don't take me to the hospital, I'm not sick. And they're like, oh, okay. And they're like, they didn't even know what to do like with the situation, because he clearly wasn't sick, but he tested positive. And
Mhm.
so I was quite nervous to like go through the whole thing. And when I had to go do all these steps for Thailand Pass, I was like, oh, is it worth it? Maybe I put it off. But what I will say is like I was definitely happy I went through the process and everything went smoothly. And after that one night, everything felt back to normal. The only thing is like these places are a little quieter than they once were, I'm pretty sure, and the mask thing. But otherwise, it doesn't feel like I'm in a pandemic here, you know?
Yeah. No, I've never felt like pandemic. It's just a little the little thing with the masks, and then if you like to go out, nightlife's gonna close at 12, and so there's been in Phuket gazillion villa mansion parties going on. You just gotta know people. And then
Yeah.
actually in Phuket, pretty much the whole time, there's been this one club that's been open until like 2, 3, whatever late, called fucking King Kong. And
Yeah.
so there's certain clubs that like have deals with the police, and that's kind of just how it goes.
Mm,
And in Bangkok too, for the past 6, 7 months, there's been like a couple places, a couple clubs in the city. It's millions of gazillions of people. There's going to be some clubs that pay off the police or whatever to be open a little bit later. So there always has been that. But in Bangkok, there's after party house parties, condo parties, and stuff like that. So that's pretty
yeah.
much the only difference. Gyms and everything has been fully open and normal for the whole time. So yeah, I agree. It
That's
hasn't
great.
really felt different.
Yeah, okay. And just out of curiosity, are you in the Rawai region in Phuket? Is that where you're based, or?
Did you say Rawai? It was getting choppy
Yeah.
a little bit. Yeah. We got a place in Rawai for the past 6 months up until this week. Now we just moved to Kamala.
Okay. Yeah, because I've always had bad experiences in Phuket, but it's because I found myself stuck in Patong twice,
Yeah. Get
and
out of
so
there.
I know that there's a better side to Phuket. So
Yeah.
I've got to give it another go at some stage. I know
Yeah,
that.
check out Rawai. It's like the closest thing to Canggu that I've seen
Mm,
in Thailand. It's like if you saw my Rawai video, it's basically the summary of it. It's like a Canggu
yep.
5-10 years ago, much smaller. For example, there's 3 co-working spaces in Rawai compared to a dozen or two in Canggu, and maybe like 10 really nice work cafes in Rawai compared to 100 in Canggu. So that's the way to summarize it.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, sounds like
But
I definitely need to check it out
yeah, it's great. A lot of
next
Muay
time.
Thai people there, um, vegan spots, and the whole kind of work remoter vibe.
Okay. Um, I've got a question here from Sharaf. Has COVID affected the overall cost of living in Thailand? I think that would be more a question that you could answer, Riley.
Yes, favorably actually.
Yeah.
So we were able to get COVID discounts on all of our Airbnbs,
Mm,
as low as half off.
wow.
So as I said, one of my early videos when I got here, come now because stupid deals on Airbnbs. So I
Mm,
have a few episodes of Airbnb cribs. You guys can check out on my channel. Um, and so the prices are getting back up to normal now, but back 6 months ago in that range, it was crazy deals.
yeah. No, I remember because I was in Bali last before the pandemic hit, and and I remember like video calling some of my friends there, and they were like staying in like 5-bedroom houses and stuff, like for like the cost of what they would pay for like a 1 bedroom, you know?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so like I would assume due to less tourism, like less demand, the cost of
Yep.
things would go down. But that's probably going to recover very soon, I'd say, right? Because
Yeah.
I think there's like a subset of the market, the tourism market, that are like my dad, who are like, oh, the whole COVID thing has scared me from traveling because, like, what if I
Yeah.
get sick with COVID and I'm in Thailand and the hospital system's not as good and all this stuff. But then there's like majority of people that have been waiting to travel for years, and so I
Hmm.
think as soon as the floodgates open, I think that's it's gonna like not necessarily get back to normal, but there's a ton of people lining up
Yeah.
to to go through with their travel plans that they basically had to delay for 2 years.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I've been noticing firsthand steady increase every month for the past 6 8 months. And then a big increase on May 1st when basically they said, all right, you don't need a test in your home country before you fly. So just another
Mm,
step gone. And the full moon party being a good measure of that. The past 2 months have just been absolutely packed, pretty much back to normal. Absolutely
yeah.
freaking packed. Did you end up making it down to the full moon
Yeah.
party?
Yeah. So
Okay.
was that level of attendance like normal attendance, like pre-COVID sort of levels?
I was there in 2017, and I don't think I could say normal, but
Oh yeah.
enough for the shots that I got. There's like huge seas of people around the main stages,
Yeah.
but not quite normal. Normal, maybe half of normal, but
Yeah.
still,
Okay.
that basically just means because it's like a long beach, so everyone's just concentrated on like 5 main stages instead of normally
Yeah.
maybe it'd be like 10, and so
Mm,
it's still a humongous party.
yeah. All right. Next question here. This is a bit of a weird one, so I don't know if we're going to be able to answer this. He has like a two-part question from Alta, and he will I be able to immigrate there with my two cats? Do you have any idea the answer to that?
uh, I don't know. Um, we could Google.
Google it.
Can you immigrate to Thailand with cats? You must obtain a permit from the livestock department for your pet's approval. Licensed off for 60 days.
There we go.
Any live animal need import permit. So check that out there,
The power of Google.
guy. Thanks for good question.
And his second part of his question: what types of natural disruptive phenomena, I think he means natural disasters, Thailand is prone to aside from tsunamis? I have never experienced any natural disasters in Thailand
Yeah.
before.
Yeah. I mean, probably the main one. There's flooding.
Oh
There can
yeah,
be monsoons.
yeah, flooding, of
Um,
course.
Flooding is probably the most common that you see. Like I heard last week, there was a big downpour in Bangkok, and you'll see some streets flooding. We all see it in Chiang Mai and places.
Yeah,
Um, but usually that's not going to affect you. Um, Extremely hot sun that's going to sunburn you. Um, yeah.
yeah. I wouldn't say that
I mean, if
they're
you're
like.
worrying about that, I mean, then just stay at home. Is your
Yeah,
best bet.
yeah.
There can be an earthquake in any place in the world, pretty much.
Yeah, and I mean the flooding is probably a lot of it would I'd assume would be due to like town planning and like not good sewage systems and stuff
Yeah.
like that, right?
Hmm.
Um, like there's certain situations where like parts are flooding here and they just don't need to. Like if they had a better, you know,
Yeah, like
system
right
of
there at Soy
sewage.
24 at Emporium, I've seen a couple years ago. Um,
Yeah,
it was just like motorbikes like look like boats going through.
yeah. All right, I'm gonna switch over to the Instagram questions here, which I have quite a few, so might just move a bit quicker through these ones, if possible. Um, Raphael asks, "How is it there this time? Are many closed?" He didn't say many what, but I guess the essence of the question is, is a lot of stuff closed that was previously opened due to COVID. And I'd say from my experience, I haven't noticed like a lot of things closed that should be open. What's kind of your experience with that currently?
Yeah, when I got to Rawai, um, last September, so I'd say last quarter of 21, in Rawai, it was like maybe half of shops and restaurants were closed. And that
Mm,
kind of is expected, right? Because it's like 10-20% of the normal tourist. And then steadily every month, that's back open, that's back open, that's back open. And so I would say currently maybe, 80-90% of, shops and restaurants are back open.
yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, but gyms, um, okay, I have noticed like so there's a lot of Muay Thai places in Rawai, and
Hmm.
maybe a chunk of them were closed because there's just not that much demand. But the
Yeah.
most popular places have been open the whole time.
Yeah. Okay. Um, Next question is, as a percentage, how many tourists do you see compared to pre-pandemic? I'd
Yeah,
say it's over 50%. I'm not sure. I'm not great at estimating these sort of things. Would you be able to put a rough
yeah,
percentage on it,
yeah.
do you think?
I've been, I've been thinking about this a lot, like,
Yeah.
and so
Just base it
I
off
just
the
googled it. Like my feel right now is like maybe 30% or something like that, because it's hard to judge because um where you go everyone conglomerates, right?
mm,
And so where you go it seems like there's a lot of people, but if you
yeah.
zoomed out and see the whole view of God, the total numbers, it's probably
Yeah.
a lot less than you think, just because everyone goes to the same places.
Yeah.
So I don't know. You guys would
Yeah.
have to Google that for this number, but I think it's still not even close to normal. Like normal, like Thailand's one of the most visited places in the whole world,
Mm,
and so
absolutely.
it's creeping up there. But I don't know. I want to say like, I don't know, 30% or something like that.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
That's my
Um,
guess. Yeah.
Next question is about masks indoors and how intense they are about it. We've kind of already covered that. Bangkok, very intense. Chiang Mai, just the security guard at the mall. In my experience, Ko Pha Ngan, just 7-Elevens. Phuket, similar thing, just 7-Elevens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the
Okay.
sevies. Yep.
This is kind of like I guess like a subjective question, but well, it's going to have a subjective answer. But BB Barat Radio, Better Radio, ask, where would you go if you had 1 month in one place? So I guess you're coming to Thailand, you only have 1 month. Obviously, this is like pretty subjective. For me, I probably Chiang Mai is like my go-to still. It's because it's so easy to get around. I know I have my favorite restaurants there that are still there even like years later, and
Mhm.
I've got some friends there. But if I wanted to go somewhere new, I like we were talking about in this episode, maybe try Hawaii, Phuket. What would be your
Yeah.
if you had one place to
Oh
go
man,
in
I
one
hate this
month?
question because I hate choosing. So what I would say if this is my friend, I would say, "What are you talking about? You don't have to go to one place. Don't do one place if you have 1 month. Hit
Yeah,
Chiang Mai, hit Bangkok, hit Phuket, hit Koh Phangan.
yeah,
1 week in each." So I would say, but in a magical world where you can't leave, which why would you not be able to? It depends. If you love big cities, Bangkok's the tropical New York City of Southeast Asia, and
mm,
then Koh Phangan is like the hippie, work remote, super tropical island, super cool place.
yeah.
And so I would say if you want island, Koh Phangan. Um,
Cool.
the jungle raves, if you like to party, there's jungle raves and beach parties every night. Um, and so,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, uh, maybe he only wants to do one place because of a work situation and needs to stay
yeah, I'm,
productive. But
I'm, I'm giving him
if
a hard time.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. I would, if you're thinking about Thailand long term, take some time off and do everywhere over a course of a month, and then you'll know where to go
Hmm.
next time you come to Thailand. That would be
Hmm.
my advice. Maxi Cloutier, I don't know how to pronounce that last name.
Shout out,
What's
Maxi.
the LGBT and drugs situation like? Um, I don't know if I can comment on
Lots
that.
of ladyboys here. So
Oh yeah,
yeah,
of course
like
that.
if you don't know, I was joking on my Instagram stories. There might be more girls here than more ladyboys here than girls at the full moon party. So if you don't know,
Yeah,
Thailand has a big ladyboy culture for whatever reason. Lots of ladyboys, trans folks,
yeah,
and so yeah, totally open in terms of that. You're not going to be discriminated. You are going to be very welcome.
yeah.
Of course, it's the whole country is welcoming. Yeah, don't worry. And in terms of drugs, I don't know. Do you want to take a take on that first?
I have zero experience with it. The funny it really the funny thing with drugs is it really depends on your culture and different, because there's different cultures around the world. And the funny thing for Australians is when we think of drugs in Southeast Asia, we think of the people that have gone to Bali and had basically been executed for doing drug related crimes. So like from the Australian perspective, I'm just kind of like, okay, I'm not touching drugs in Southeast Asia kind of thing. Like I don't even look into it. I don't know if there's anything you want to say on that, or
Yeah,
I
don't
mean
be
the
a
marijuana is
dumbass.
becoming legal
Yeah, the
or something.
marijuana is getting legalized. It's like there's
Yeah.
stuff going on, and so that's very exciting. There's cannabis shops. I'm sure you've seen all around. There's
Yeah, it's
CBD
crazy.
shops, but many of them it's secret THC. So, example in Rawai, there's one of my favorite cafes. They have a whole cannabis section on the menu, and they don't advertise the THC, but you eat that shit
Mm.
and you're getting blazed. And so you kind of gotta know. And then, so these, so it's starting, and yeah, they're working on making Thailand legal. I mean, obviously they should. It would be so great for the country, a new source of revenue, and it's obviously in any tropical island culture, there's always a Rasta culture, so it's gonna be awesome. In terms of drugs, like in any place you go, any party environment around the world, there's going to be drugs, and so
Mm.
be smart. um, in general, like if you get caught, if you get stopped by the police, which is very very rare, like in Bangkok for example, they'll have actually in Phuket too, they'll have like a checkpoints occasionally. They do in many major cities. Like we got stopped in Medellin, Colombia once. Hide your shit.
Yeah.
Be smart, hide your shit. If you get caught, you're gonna have to pay money. Okay, that's
Yeah.
basically it. If you don't have the money, then they're gonna take you to jail, and then basically until you can pay the money. Um, you're not gonna get executed unless you're trafficking.
Yeah.
But that's generally the story. In any developing country, you're gonna have to pay. You're gonna have to pay the cops off. So
Mm.
that's what I've heard. And so, but yeah, you go to any party environment, any club, beach party, jungle rave, and people are doing drugs. That's what humans do.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
just be smart.
Good advice.
Yeah.
My mate Zach Young asks, "Do you expect another lockdown in winter?" And I think we can extend that question to, "Do you expect another lockdown in general?" Like, I would, it seems like we're out of the woods now. But like, what is your perspective on that?
Do I expect another lockdown in winter? Well, let's fucking hope not. I mean, Jesus, I'm not Jesus, but I may, um, I hope not. Fucking hope not. Jesus, that would
um,
suck.
yeah, I mean, there would have to be. I think for that to happen, there would have to be a new variant or virus that comes out,
Yeah,
right? Because
and
Omicron is weak and it's weakened even more. And it seems like we're out of the woods now with this pandemic. But of course, anything could happen. Yeah. Um, all right. So I've got a few double up questions here. So I'm skipping over them. Um, this should be a quick one to answer. Flying from London to Bangkok, best way to get to Chiang Mai, flight or train? I would definitely say fly. It's cheap and it gets you there in an hour. And I think the train is like 12 hours. Um, some people like to do the train out of novelty. I don't know why. I would hate to spend 12 hours on a train when I can just take a
Yeah.
cheap flight for an hour. Like,
Yeah. Best way to get around Thailand is fly. It's around like maybe 2,000 baht. You can get, if you book in advance, maybe $35.
yeah,
A little over a
it's
thousand
nuts.
baht. From Bangkok to Phuket. Um, I've, I've been noticing around 3,000 baht, like $100. Same from Phuket to Samui, the easiest way. So I always just fly.
Yeah. Same guy asks, moving to Chiang Mai for 1 month and want a nice place, Airbnb or something else.
No, go
I've
ahead.
talked about this in the past. Like, you can like book one night and then roam around. And I mean, this is what's happened. This is my experience in the past, like 2016, 2017. You could just walk around and move into an apartment by going into different offices and move in that day. Ever since I've been just using Airbnb, because even with like a 20% premium, it's just so much easier for me to do it in advance and still cheap. Do you know anything? Have you heard anything about that, Riley? Or
Yeah, that's the classic 4 hour work week tip. If I'm doing that, book an Airbnb for 2 nights. Make sure you like it. Make sure it's good. Make sure you like the area, and then if you want, extend, um, or switch it up if you want to try a new place.
cool.
So that can be hit or miss. Like a couple of times, it's been like, oh, you just have 2 nights, but you try to extend. Oh, sorry, now it's fully booked. Um, but yeah, that's normally I wouldn't go to like a new place I want to check out and book like a week unless it's some like epic villa, of course. But if it's like some hotel or something somewhere you want to scope out, I usually do 2 nights. One night, um,
Okay.
I've noticed one night, if I book one night, sometimes they'll check in really late at night, and it's like you got to check in right in the morning. It's like I've been here for less than 12 hours, and I got to check out.
Excuse me.
So I normally like 2 nights. I found that's good.
Okay. Josh, sorry, not Josh. Joseph asks, anything specific to know about flights? I would just say they ask you to wear masks on planes and at the
Yeah,
airport. That's it, really.
yeah. Planes, you got to wear a mask, which sucks. I have traditionally got one of those basically sleeve covers things. It's not a mask, but it's like a pullover, kind of like tube thing, much more comfortable
Okay.
because on those long flights, if you have a regular mask over your ears start to hurt.
Yeah. Okay.
Or
I've got a
like
giant flight tomorrow, so I might have to look into
yeah,
that.
or I have headphones like this, and I put the mask around the headphones so it's not touching your ears.
Good tips. That's a good little
Yeah,
hack there.
yeah. Figure out a way, or like my mom literally has this product. It's called the seat sleeper, and
Mm,
it straps around your head and around the headrest, and so it
yeah.
kind of secures you in, and so you don't bob. So your bob. So when you fall asleep, your head doesn't bob like that. And I always
Yeah.
use that. So you can check it out on Instagram at Seat Sleeper. And so I
Shout
guess what
out.
I'm getting at is you can also put it over your mouth. Or
Yeah.
what I've also done is put the Seat Sleeper over my eyes, so it covers your eyes black, and you can sleep, rest real nice. And then I'll have an eye mask. Um, one of the regular eye masks. It straps all the way around the back of the head, and I have that
Mm,
covering my mouth, so it's more comfortable. Or
yeah.
like get a face mask thing with the where you can buckle it, a little attachment where you can buckle it behind your head, so it's just not pulling on
Yeah.
your ears. That's the only annoying thing on flights.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. You've really thought about this. I've just been
Yeah,
like, okay, I'm
I've
on a
been flying a
flight, put the
lot.
mask on. Yeah. But yeah, you've
Been
definitely got
flying
some
a lot
hacks
the
there.
last
You could probably
few
do a whole
months.
video on that if you haven't already.
Yeah, I should. Promote my
Yeah.
mom's product too.
Put that on the list.
Yeah.
Angel
Tips.
here asks, how have the most popular tourist spots evolved after COVID? I mean, this probably,
Evolved.
I don't know how we can sort of answer this
They're
question.
they're bigger, better, better. Everything's better. Come now, guys.
Everything's better.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's I mean, my experience is like it's similar to like, well, I went to out of those. So Khao Sun Road was pretty busy when I went there. Ko Pha Ngan is like I remember it, maybe less busy. So yeah, I think it's really just the pandemic hasn't drastically changed anything, in at least in my perspective.
No, yeah,
Um,
it hasn't.
Nick asks, do you meet a lot of 40-plus-year-old nomads? Um, I'm going to keep this specifically to Thailand. Yeah, I'd say like I
Are you
meet.
going to cafe?
I wouldn't meet. I don't typically meet many people past the age of 45 who live this lifestyle. What about you, Riley? Do you meet many
Um,
40-plus-year-old nomads in Thailand, especially?
um, I mean, obviously there's less, but there's some. And if you want to meet
Mm,
up with them, figure it out. Maybe there's a Facebook group. Go out to
yeah.
co-working spaces and meet those people. They're out there. You have no excuse not to catch up with them and meet them in this day and age. It's too easy. No excuse. There's tons of them. Find your clique, and yeah, there's tons.
Awesome. Good advice. All right. Last one from Kaylee. What are the laws if you get COVID? And this is like something that I thought about as well. Like I wondered, like, if I test positive at the in the test and go scheme, like what happens then? Like you know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like
Yeah,
am I screwed? Or like is it like, oh, okay, you're not sick? Like, and the funny thing is, I don't think they have that information available.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it is a
So
little bit of a
this
mystery.
Yeah, so this happened to a couple people I know, test positive on
Okay.
arrival, and so basically you have to just stay at your hotel until you're for 5 days, and then you test again, then you're negative, and then you can go. If you test just like randomly positive, um, don't go to the hotel to don't go to the hospital to tell them, because then you'll have to do hospital quarantine, and so for like
Yes.
5 or 10 days. So don't do that. Just stay home. And so there's an abundance of little COVID test strips. So if you're feeling sick, just test at home, and if you're sick, just stay at home. Don't go to the hospital to get tested, because if you do positive there, they'll make you stay. Um, and then also, like, if you test positive to go into like some clubs, even still, there's a ATK a line to get into the club. Um, is what it is. If you test positive there, there's a chance they'll say go to the hospital. Just say no. Oh, okay, no, and just get the fuck out of there and go home. Don't say
Yeah.
okay, let's go to the hospital.
Yeah,
Just
yeah, yeah.
walk away and go home. And
Yeah,
so
funny today,
a little trick.
Cool story,
I
bro.
Yeah, this actually happened to Amy, but a little trick, like if you're gonna put your phone number on the little test strip and then they call your name and say, don't put your actual phone number. And so if so, they might like call you and like try to track you down. I think that's pretty
Yeah.
unlikely, but just don't put your real phone number just in case you test positive, so it's, not on the record or whatever. But that's what I found.
Yeah. I was just gonna mention that your story kind of your example of the nightclub line. I had a
Mhm.
similar experience with that today with the massage parlor. I went in and they're like, "Oh yeah, you need to do a COVID test, rapid
Oh, really? Yeah.
antigen test," and I was like, "Oh, okay." And I asked them, "What happens if I test positive?" They're like, "Oh, well, you pay us 50 baht for the test and you can't have the massage." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." I just wanted to check
Yeah.
whether they were going to like imprison me or something if I tested positive.
Yeah.
But it was a weird one. Like I didn't have to put it up my nose at all. I spat into a paper bag and
Mhm.
then pulled out my saliva
Paper
and then
bag.
combined it with the liquid and then put it into the testing kit.
Yeah.
So I don't know how accurate these things are. It said wait 12 minutes, and I was like a few minutes into the wait, and they're like, oh, there's no sign, there's no second line coming
Yeah.
up. Yep, you just go. Like
It's
it's
all
just
security theater. Like they don't care. They
yeah,
just want people to come into their business, and they just have
yeah.
to follow the rules though of the establishment or whatever. So everyone wants you to come. Obviously, if you are sick, obviously don't go and mix it around. But yeah.
All right. Awesome. Well, I think we've covered like a lot in this 50 minutes on Thailand. Just to summarize, I'd say like you know it's not that much different from what it was. Like a lot of the information that I think both of us talk about Thailand is still relevant. It's just the COVID specific stuff that's changed, and that's mainly around testing and masks. And yeah, it's not as busy as it once was because as Riley looked up, the tourism numbers are lower. So, but there's nothing drastically different that I've experienced in Thailand. Still a great option. I'd still recommend it for like new people. Like it's still a great country to get started. And for people that are established as well, like Riley. So, any final words on Thailand post pandemic before we wrap up here?
Yeah, someone says, Bethan Wright, she says, thoughts on visa runs for short stays. Bali, she says she's going to Bali and Thailand. I'm actually going to do a video soon, best visa options now for Thailand. But historically, I've done visa runs all the time, fly to Vietnam and back, do a trip there, go to Bali and back. You can do the bus across the border. So visa runs, yep, still a thing that everybody does. You can just Google visa run Bangkok, visa run wherever you are, and there's agencies that organize these buses to do the border bounce or whatever. It's still a thing, totally fine.
Cool. All right. Well, I think we'll wrap it up there for the Thailand post-pandemic section. Yeah, thanks for jumping on and helping out on this podcast episode. Anything you want to shout out, or like you've got people watching on YouTube can see your Instagram handle there.
Yeah, I went ahead and just made it live on YouTube, and I think people are liking it. We got like over 20 people here.
Yeah, I just noticed that.
Yeah, I was like, fuck it, make it live, dude. Just like, why not? And so, yeah, that's Thailand post-pandemic summary. Everything's open. My mom and Parker's mom came in February. They're loving it. Everything fine. So, come. Like, if my mom's coming, like, what are you waiting for? And so it's totally open. Come on down. And so, yeah, I will be. Yeah, if you guys want to pop over to my channel, we'll do a video right now. A section on Ko Pha Ngan versus Bali.
Awesome. Are we gonna wrap up?
Let's just keep this.
Okay.
This live stream will keep going, and then I'll download it. I'll download it, and then you can take the section so far.
Okay, cool.
And so,
all right. So I just got to use the bathroom and get some charge on this computer. But yeah, give me 2 minutes.
Quick break,
and we'll be good. Yeah, quick break.
Awesome. Quick break.
We can stop the audio recording for that.
I'll mute it. All right, you're muted. Why don't I just answer this question by Julian? Compare quality of life Bali versus Medellin versus Phnom Penh, Cambodia. I have been to Cambodia once for a few days. Definitely not as nice a place as Bangkok. Medellin I was in for 1 week. Awesome. Bali is freaking awesome. Like best place in the freaking world potentially. I would say I would choose Bali. Billy, language barrier, reading Thai signs. I haven't found language barrier being a problem at all. If you're in the main areas, it's not a problem. If you're in a small town, maybe yeah. You can always use your phone. Translate app. You can scan the menu to read any Thai that you want. Ba, 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 ba. Where do I want to visit most now that world is opening back up? Thank you, Josh. Freaking everywhere. I want to go to Ibiza. I just had a bunch of friends there for festival this week, and so never been there. Hear awesome things about Ibiza, Spain. Anyone going to Ukraine? Collab with Johnny FD. Shout out Johnny FD. He's one of the main reasons I came to Thailand 7 years ago. Philippines. Yes, I have been there. It's awesome. Check it out. Tropical paradise, islands everywhere. Facebook user, don't know who that is. 2 favorite people on the internet. Let's go. Nomad OGs. It's Lachiko. Who is this, by the way? I saw you on the last live stream. Shout out. Visa runs for short stays. In Bali for visa, what a lot of people do is the business visa. They should call it business exploration, but it's very easy to get, maybe a few $100 to get it, and it gets you 6 months. Just contact a visa agency there and say, what are my options? And they will tell you all about it. Very easy. Any more questions, guys? Ooh, thanks for the 10 likes. For long stay Thai visa, okay, there's the thing that co-working spaces are doing now, where you can basically get a work permit through them that gets you 1 year. So look that up. Thailand work permit co-working space. And then yeah, shout out Josh again. Thoughts on Thailand 10-year remote work visa? Fuck yeah. If that's actually happening, sounds like a no-brainer. They said it'd be like $1,500. I don't know if that's per year or if that gets you 10 years. Sounds like the most best thing ever. So when that comes out, pretty no-brainer. I would do that. We haven't met. I started watching your videos from Jabril and Passport Heavy. Awesome. Shout out. Shout out. It's a little Chico Pitbull. Julian, is drop shipping still the move? No, I've never really done it. I don't think so. I mean, it can be. Shout out Trevor Fenner, ecommerceparadise.com. He was on my Instagram live the other day. He's very successful with high ticket drop shipping. He has tons of stores and makes great money doing high ticket drop shipping. So if you want to learn that, hit him up. Also, my good buddy Jacob, who was there, one of the Chiang Mai OGs, he still does high ticket drop shipping. He has a new store that's crushing it. The trick is B2B. B2B high ticket items is where it's at. That's what I've heard. Cool. So Chris is back. Are you ready?
Thank you for that break. I'm saying it. This Airbnb is poorly designed. There's not like a PowerPoint near the desk, so I had to whip out. Oh, what do you guys? Is that like an Australian thing?
I remember that was a thing I remember from our Bali versus Bangkok video.
Yeah,
because I had never heard that before you said it on live, and I was like, "What are you talking about?"
What do you guys call it in the States?
I don't know. American would just say like an outlet.
An outlet. Okay, yeah. There's not an outlet near the desk, so I had to like bring out my extension, my power board, to like get this, to hack this to work. So yeah, appreciate
and Julian says NFTs. Yeah, Bam's into flipping NFTs. A lot of guys into it. So so many freaking crypto people. in Thailand and everywhere. And so tons of people. There's crypto meetups everywhere. So yeah. Cool. Are you ready to get into Phangan?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Chris, the freelancer, what have your impressions been on Ko Pha Ngan?
I mean, the first word that comes to mind is beautiful. It's funny. I put out some Instagram content on Ko Pha Ngan, and one of my friends like messaged me and like, oh, I had this impression that Ko Pha Ngan was just that's the place you go for full moon party.
Mm,
And so many people I bumped into or met, they're like, "Oh, you came for this full moon party." I'm like, "No, I hadn't." Like that was like just went to it because I was there
yeah,
at the time. But um, yeah, like to me, Koh Phangan is just a beautiful island. And the the cool thing about it for, I guess, digital nomads is there are lots of like co-working space options. Like, and I went to one called La Casa that had over, I think
yeah,
I
that looks
posted
really
it
cool.
on Instagram. I think it was 300 megabits plus or something, like ridiculous. And
Hmm.
I looked out at, the beach, and I was just like, it's still like crazy to me that I've got a 300 megabit connection while I'm like right next to the beach on this island that doesn't even have an airport. um,
Hmm.
so yeah, you brought up the Instagram there, and I definitely got a few cool photos from Koh Phangan on this trip. Um,
Yeah,
so yeah, it's stunning.
yeah, awesome. Yeah, totally. Um, what are your main comparisons to Bali? Similar vibe, different vibe. What would you say to someone who asked you to compare them?
Yeah, so obviously you did ask me about this ahead of time, and I was like, "Phew, what am I going to say about this?" Because to
Mhm,
me, they're like very different.
mhm,
Bali is like a whole it's an international brand, like in itself. It
mhm.
attracts all sorts of travelers. It's busy. It's busy is the key word. Like it's so chock full of all different types of people. Um, there's like I don't know what it's necessarily like post COVID, but it looks like it's kind of back to normal from what I can see on
Yeah,
like
yeah, it
Instagram
totally
and
is. Yeah, I
YouTube
have
and
some
stuff.
friends there now. They say it's totally packed and popping.
Yeah. Um, Nightlife scene is crazy there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
There's so many content creators that go there. And so to me, Copenhagen is a very, very mini version of that. There's nowhere
yeah,
near the level of activity, busyness, influences that travel there, nightlife, everything. So for those people that like Bali for the fact that it's a beautiful island, then those people might be more attracted to somewhere like Copenhagen. But I actually like the energy of Bali. It's funny. My friends, when I was still in contact with my friends post like after the pandemic hit, because Bali was the last place I was in before the pandemic hit, and some of them were like, "Oh, I love this version of Bali. No one's around. I've got a 5 bedroom villa to myself, and I go to the beach, and no one's there, and all this kind of stuff." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, like that's going to appeal to some people, but to me, I love the energy and the busyness, and it was getting
mhm.
a bit ridiculous towards the end of that until before the pandemic hit." Um, so it's getting a little crazy, but like I liked the fact that it's kind of in a way it's like a world city, but it's like a
Yeah,
island
exactly.
that is like supposed to be a tourist island, but it's in a way it's like a world city. Like it's up there in these brands of like cool places, like with Dubai and
Yeah,
like all these kind of cool places. Um, it's just got a huge brand, whereas like Copenhagen, not so much.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
100%. I would say, yeah, that's definitely the main difference. It's like just the number of people. Um, and Bali has super clubs and the nightlife is crazy, whereas Phangan, you're gonna look at full moon party, jungle rave, waterfall rave. Um, and then maybe some smaller clubs. In terms of working remote, they're both awesome. Tons of dope cafes, as you can see on Chris's thing. So if you're a nomad, Ko Pha Ngan is just basically like a smaller, less busy. Bali, both places are super spiritual, hippies, yoga,
Mm.
it's just mushroom ceremonies, whatever you want to go. It's all happening. Strange. They're both. Someone was describing Ko Pha Ngan as a strange place. You get lots of interesting people, but you do in Bali as well. People from all around the
Mm.
world, all sorts of backgrounds and whatever. So both very spiritual places. Ko Pha Ngan is just a mini version of that. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, both islands have their different sides. I mean that like physically and like figuratively, I guess. So like, excuse me, for digital nomads specifically, like in Koh Phangan, you'd be looking at something on the west coast, and then in Bali, I think the spot is definitely Canggu, but then also a little bit of Ubud as well in Bali.
Mhm.
But I mean, like you go super north in Bali, there's no tourists. I went there 2018 and I did not see any foreigners. So that's still Bali, but the Bali we're talking about is kind of like centered around Canggu and that area.
Mhm.
And in Koh Phangan, it's interesting that you mentioned all that like sort of hippie stuff. I think that's more like northwest of the island, I think, is
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
epicenter for that.
Yep.
Had Rin is like I think a world away from that. So that's like on the southern
Yeah,
tip of the
much
island.
more touristy. Yeah, where the full moon party is.
Yeah, and that's the like you said, the full moon party spot. My favorite area is kind of like the middle ground. It's like Bantai in Koh
Mhm.
Phangan, and I kind of like that the new spot La Casa for
Yeah, that
co-working
looks super cool.
in Koh Phangan. When I say new, it's new to me. I don't know how. I think it's been there for over a year now, or around that. But
Mhm.
it's new for me, and I like that it's in Bantai. Like it's in the location that I prefer to be in. Because like
Mhm.
I was previously hanging out at Beach Hub back in I think it was 2016 or 17.
Mhm.
And yeah, Beach Hub. It's not my favorite location. It's not in the best location for me personally.
Mhm.
Um, and I really liked La Casa, like in Bantai. Um, they also had like it's a restaurant as well, and I went there
Mhm.
for like all you can eat tacos on a Tuesday night. And it's funny they had like a house music DJ playing like really loud house music, but it was like which would have probably been annoying if you just wanted to go there for dinner and chat to someone. But like I was there like by myself having like some tacos and like I was literally like bopping to the music as well because like it was
Nice.
pretty cool. It's my vibe. Um,
Nice.
and then yeah, like in that co-working area there that you've got on screen. Yeah, I got let me bring up the speed test I got there. I posted it on
Mhm.
Instagram, but it
Mhm.
was in the hundreds of megabits. Oh yeah, I said
Yeah, this
300
one?
before it was 470. No, it's like a story, so it's like on
Okay.
it's in my archive. But yeah, 470 megabits down and 480 up. So it just
Wow,
blows my
yeah,
mind.
I've never had that fast anywhere.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they
So
got
yeah,
fiber all throughout Thailand now, so
Thailand's crazy how the internet. I think it still is better than Australia's internet. Like I don't think there is any island in Australia where 100 megabit plus speeds are possible. Like I don't
Mhm.
know. It actually occurred to me on this Copenhagen trip that I haven't actually been to an island in Australia.
Mm.
So like that's something I should probably do at some point. But I would suspect that like if I went to a resort on an island in Australia, I would not expect. I would be expecting lower than 10 megabits down. And to
Mhm.
see those speeds, it's crazy. It's one of the reasons why Thailand is such a cool place
Yeah.
to have. I mean, it's a bit geeky getting, you know, super like excited about 100 megabit speeds, because for the majority of people, like what 20 megabits is going to be okay. 20 megabits up and down.
Mhm.
Like I tested my connection before we started this call, and my speed was like 50 up and down or something, and there's been hardly any interruptions on this call. So I mean, it's good if you're uploading a lot of video. That's
Yeah.
for like us creators, like that would be like the big thing. But it's
Mhm.
just such high speeds. It just means you haven't got any internet stress. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Wi-Fi is
Mm.
not never a problem, and if there ever is a power outage, which can happen occasionally, you know, in developing countries, you got your hotspot right there, 4G, super fast.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy. And everywhere in Thailand has free Wi-Fi. I think I was thinking about it today because I was like literally lying down for a Thai massage, and I saw there was a sign next to me. I was like, oh, what's this sign? So I turned it around and it said, here's the Wi-Fi password. And then I was just like, oh, this is crazy. But I thought, you know, it's probably like tourists that don't get SIM cards would want to like connect to that
Yeah.
to that Wi-Fi. But it's just crazy. Like there is Wi-Fi everywhere. If for whatever reason you don't want to pay the 200 to 400 baht a month to get a SIM, which I think is a no-brainer,
Yeah.
there's Wi-Fi everywhere, and
Yeah.
it's all good, you know.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, there's going to be no issues, and I think Bali, because we're talking about Bali as well, right? I think
Mhm.
it's a little bit, it's not so much that situation. Like the investment that these establishments have to make in order to get really good internet is a lot more. And so like I only,
Mhm.
yeah. When was the last time you were in Bali? You were there during the
Yeah, just
pandemic, right?
a year ago. A year ago,
Yeah.
I was there last January through June, so 6 months last year.
Hmm. Yeah. So you would have more to say on that than me. I'm sure it's the
It's
internet's
a
always getting better, right?
Yeah, it's all fine. No issues. It's a non-issue. I say don't not come because you're worried about internet. You're gonna be fine, guys. It's Bali is one of
Yeah.
the influencer capitals of the world. So
Yeah, I mean, what I kind of do. So I now how I actually got into recording internet speeds and actually looking at it is because people would ask me this. Like it would be a question that came up. And I remember when I first started traveling, I never looked at internet speeds. I would just go off feeling like, oh, is the internet good? Is it bad? Right. But then when the audience started crying out for like specific speeds, I started testing.
mhm,
Um, but the fact still remains, like it just needs to be good enough, right? And
yeah,
I think it's like the a kind of, without like getting a specific speed test from somebody, the way I kind of like suss out whether a place is going to have good internet is like, do they have places where people who work online congregate, like a co-working space? If they do, clearly the internet is okay. Like if you
mhm,
look at a photo of a Bali co-working space and it's filled with like 20 people, do you really expect the Wi-Fi to be bad? You know what I mean?
mhm,
Their
yeah,
business relies on good
yeah,
Wi-Fi, so you know, like it just makes sense that the Wi-Fi would be good. Um, and that's actually good. What I actually saw, I'm not sure if you know that, but Outpost, one of
yeah.
the
I've been there.
co-working brands in Bali, launched in Weligama, Sri Lanka this year. And so
Mm,
I was supposed to go this month, but my friend and I decided to not do it because of the economic crisis that's happening there.
mm,
But they have the same thing. I saw this video, packed co-working space, and you just have to assume that the internet's good enough in that location if they can pack out a co-working space.
yeah, yeah.
So
It's
that's
all
kind of,
good. The internet's it's good.
yeah,
It's good, guys.
yeah,
Cool. Yeah, I hope to visit Bali again soon. At this point, at some point this year. So cool. Yeah, this was good. Any other big points for people to know? Ko Pha Ngan, Bali.
yeah. Well, I mean, I've seen the two sides of Ko Pha Ngan, in terms of pre-pandemic, post-pandemic. virtually the same thing to me, except wearing
Mhm.
masks in a 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
And I don't, yeah, I haven't had the experience of going to Bali post pandemic. But yeah, so I can't specifically comment on that. But to this day, Canggu, Bali remains my favorite, like the most exciting place for me to to go and work remotely, as a person who's like creative and like works online and likes, you know, that music scene and likes beautiful cafes and clubs and all that sort of stuff. It's still the winner. The only thing about Bali that I say to people is like it's a bit like a fantasy land. Like
Mhm.
it's weird because it's like this playground that's been set up in Indonesia. I mean, go other places. I haven't been, but go other places in Indonesia and see if it's anywhere near as good. It's
Yeah.
basically this like in a way artificial paradise,
Yeah.
and all the local people that you see basically work in tourism, and like it's not like going to like Chiang Mai where you go into a restaurant and you'll be with other Thai people. Even my from my experience, even the Indonesian restaurants in Bali um, have like you go there and there's hardly don't really see other Indonesians dining with you.
Mm.
So yeah, it is that's my only criticism of Bali is like it is a bit of a fantasy world, and like I don't it feels transient. Like those people that call Bali home, it's like I'm like, I wonder how they are able to sort of bridge that gap where everyone else considers it like a transient place. Um, but
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, I think you're a big believer in the whole go everywhere and
Yeah.
don't be attached to one place. So, following that philosophy, why do you need to even be
Yeah.
based anywhere?
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
that's why we do what we do, right? Like, so when
Mm,
you feel like, all right, I'm ready for a new place, go. That's the whole point of, working online, having an online business. And
yeah.
so be able to be free,
Yeah.
location free to be where you want. And Bali is one of those places I will always go back. It will always be one of the home bases. We're actually going to post up in Bali and have that be kind of the home base, get a villa there, long-term lease. Until we came here to Phuket. We're like, whoa, I didn't know about this place. And then started making friends. It's like, oh, boom. Now we got a whole fucking crew here. And and that ties into, travel. Life is about the people. And so
Yeah.
everywhere has awesome people. And so, but yeah, Canggu, I always say I call it an engineered paradise. They have said that, okay,
Mm,
Bali is going to be this place. And, it probably started with, the Australians, back in the early days. I mean,
yeah.
Bali's been popping with tourism since the 70s. It goes
Yeah.
way, way back. And they just decided, all right, we're going to turn this into a heaven, place in terms of
Yeah. Yeah.
health,
Yeah.
life balance, spirituality. And
Absolutely.
so just the coolest places, the coolest venues I've ever seen in the world. I've never been to Ibiza. I heard that's like Bali on steroids, people have said, but it's on that level of the coolest places in the world. I've heard many people have said who have been all around the world. And so
Mm.
yeah, that's that. And Phangan is going to be, over the coming years, turning into one of those world popular destinations, I would think, too.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely beautiful. Just
Hmm.
more chill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Way
definitely
more
less
chill.
less busy. You're riding around on your scooter, and I mean both places that love the scooter life, just cruising around, scooting around to the gym, the cafe, and so it's a good life no matter what you choose. I would recommend anyone check out both of them. Um, so yeah,
Yeah. Awesome.
awesome, cool. Well, this has been like almost an hour and a half. This has been great, and so yeah, if you just saw this video, um, in a chunk for the whole first hour. We talked on the Chris's podcast about Thailand post COVID and talked all about it. So you check that out on Chris's podcast. So yeah, where do they find that?
Yeah. Oh, well, this is something I decided to restart like a few days ago. So
Nice.
I'm a bit rusty on the information. I think you can find
Just
the podcast
check
is
out
now
your Instagram,
hosted.
maybe.
Yeah, the podcast is now hosted on Anchor, so it's Anchor FM/Chris the Freelancer. Is where you can find the hub of it, and then obviously you can find it on Apple Podcasts. I'm just looking at the list here on Anchor: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, Spotify, or copy the RSS. So yeah, that's where you need to go. And yeah, I'll be posting updates about the podcast and everything through Instagram. So if people want to follow me there at Chris the Freelancer, you can do that as well.
Nice. I didn't know about this. Oh, and there she is. Awesome. Cool. Well, there it is. If we didn't get to your questions, put them in the comments after this video, and I will try to answer them all. Follow Chris on Instagram, also me on Instagram, for the daily life out here. So, yeah, where are you going to be from now?
Yeah, so tomorrow I have a flight to Portugal. So I'm going to be traveling Portugal with a few friends for 8 days, and then I'm spending a month in Istanbul, which you mentioned in the YouTube comments. I might be seeing you there, or
no, not in Istanbul. No plan to go back there. I really want to, but I did 3 months there, and so check out my Istanbul review video. I list all my favorite spots, my Google Maps list, and all that.
It's the video that inspired me to go there. I was like, okay,
awesome.
I want to go there now.
Awesome.
After watching this.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Awesome place. Love it.
Yeah. Okay.
So cool. Well, yeah, we'll be in touch on Instagram, and yeah, see everyone else. Thanks for hanging around. 15 people watched to the end. Awesome. You better freaking like the video and subscribe to both of our channels, yo, if you made it all this way.
All right. Appreciate you having me on, Riley.
Yeah. All right. I'll see you on Instagram.
All right. Catch up.
Ending stream.